Okay, so this is episode 3 of our YouTube exclusive Ask Pete, and we're here with Pete again today to answer some questions. By the way, if you haven't ever even been on the YouTube channel, go check it out, alright? Pete Main is on YouTube.
Haven't ever even had been on. How'd you put that? I don't even know.
I don't even know.
Proper.
All right. Well, anyway, whatever.
Good thing we send these kids to school. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. All right. So our first question here is from Adam Brockway, and his question is: how do you read a lake map and choose a good spot to fish?
He'll probably be able to tell we're a little prepared for this. Boy, this is a real long story, Adam, and a lot of it depends on the time of the year, but just the basics of it. What I want to do is find the most complex areas to start with. So I've pulled up something here on the Humminbird just to give you an idea. You can see with the different shading, and that makes things stand out on maps. So let's say, for instance, you had an old paper map. This is the way we used to do it in the old days. I would literally take different depth ranges and make them different magic marker colors so they would stand out. And these more complex areas naturally stand out when you do that to a paper map. But here you see, basically in this section of the lake, I see two areas that immediately hit me that are the most complex. There and there. And the white in this instance is shallower stuff. But what you see big structure, fairly complex, and you see shallow and deep water. And I want to see a lot of that. Little satellite bars. I want to see deep water access. I want to see fairly big shelves. Now everything can get real complicated from there. You got to spend time, do some graph, and look at side imaging depth. You know, the different types of structures and certain hot spots are going to pick up. But as you start on a body of water, that's what you want to look for, is the more complex areas that have access to deep water and shallow. And then real simply is just one example. Let's say, for instance, it was definitely in the spring of the year. Then I would immediately leap to any inlets on the lake, because those are probably spawning areas.
All right, Dad, we've got a question from Shane Shady. It is, what is your preferred method for... He wants to know how you like to cook muskie. Seems a little bit odd, but you wanted me to ask you all the questions, so Shane Shady wants to know how to cook a muskie.
Wow. Well, Shane, you'd like to get right to a point, I guess. Cook a muskie. Well, let's see. I don't know if he's absolutely serious, or you, Shane, are absolutely serious about this, but I guess I could answer that. It's interesting because it brings up history. I'm a little older than I like to admit. I actually been doing this a long time. When I started the whole muskie game, we kept every fish. When I started as a guide, every legal muskie died, period. 32 inches, big whopper, 32 inches. We'd kill them and give them to our clients. And yes, we ate them in those days. And frankly, I don't remember a whole lot about it. We baked some. Actually, the way I recall liking them the best was smoked. But fortunately, we kind of came to our senses, at least in my opinion, and realizing they're very low density, top of the line predator in the food chain. We've released them all since. But I got a comment on the eating thing when we started into the catch and release deal. I guess I have to confess of fibbing a little bit, because I used to tell my clients, and once in a while people would ask. These days they ask jokingly, so I don't know if Shane is super serious or not, but I do get that question quite a bit. But in the old days when I'd get asked, I would say, no, they're terrible. They taste like mud, they taste like poop, they're no good. That was what I would tell a lot of clients in a lot of cases. But they're really just like any other fish, I guess, in a way. They're probably quite good. Now, I always keep a pink hat available here, just in case. I will have to add, Shane, that if you do eat muskie these days, I would not put it out on social media or make it real public, because they may, I got a feeling some muskie people may come for you, grab you, and hold you, and they may drag you around to all of the Muskie shows during the sports show season, and probably make the main event of the day probably at noon, and make announcements and give about an hour to draw a crowd, and let all of the lure manufacturers flog you publicly with all of their different lure presentations. I'm sure they'll probably take the hooks off, but no, eating muskie isn't really all that popular these days.
Okay, and our final question of the episode comes from Kenton Kemeny, and his question is, what are a couple pieces of advice you would give a novice muskie fisherman?
Oh, boy. Well, we could write a couple books, talk for hours. I guess actually don't take your time. Don't get discouraged. Don't concentrate too much on the biggest, the bestest, that type of thing. And I would say keep it to basics at first. Bucktail, crankbait, things that cover water fairly efficiently. And then in reality, I would really say possibly the most important thing would be to find some friends that do it, or hire a guide to really kind of get yourself started and get a good idea what you're doing, because the equipment is so expensive, and there's a lot of it when it comes to rods, reels, lures, and that type of thing. So hopefully you've got some buddies that have done a bit of it that are going to be able to get you out there and actually experience it, and to use the different lures and equipment that may or may not fit you very well. The other thing is, this is what, especially if you're new to it, hiring a guide is worth every penny for so many reasons. Your odds are better, you're going to learn more, blah, 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 blah. But good guides provide all that equipment for you. So you don't have to go out and spend literally hundreds and thousands of dollars on equipment that may not be the best for you and fit you. And then when it comes to lures, that a lot of that is personal preference and confidence and this, that, and the other. So if you're literally, part of your guide fee is renting this product, and you're going to be able to make much wiser purchases in the future by essentially renting that product. So hire a guide, take your time, worry more about the enjoyment of it as compared to the competitiveness of it, and you'll enjoy it a lot more and learn more. And from there, just enjoy your experiences on the water. Learn as much as you can through reading and videos, and it's just a gradual process, and you'll learn more as you go.
Okay, so that is the end of our third episode of Ask Pete.
Oh, no, already?
Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't for daily updates. And remember, keep commenting your questions down below. There is no stupid question. The only stupid question is if you don't ask a question. So really? You know what? If you want your question answered, and it will be answered, comment down below. We'll make sure to get to it, and you'll see your question featured in an episode of Ask Pete.